I can't even lie to you guys, this has to be my favorite guide so far, especially in editing. Castorice is the up-and-coming 3.2 character following the newest path in Honkai Star Rail, Remembrance, and she is going to be a Quantum 5-star. I was going to say Sela has competition, but let's be honest, Sela wasn't even competing, especially in the damage department. I mean, I'm glad I grew up with this, but damn, this is so much better. Fun fact about Castorice before we actually get into this, her name and her summon come from the Greek mythology figures Castor and Pollux, or the Dioscuri, a mortal-immortal duo, with Pollux the dragon in Star Rail being the constellation of Gemini because of Castor's death, which I hope doesn't imply the death of Castorice. That might have been a story spoiler, I don't know. Anyways, I will be covering Castorice's kit, relics, light cones, teams, Eidolons, and so much more, so please stay tuned for that. This is the Castorice guide for you, and the kit won't realistically change very much, so you can actually follow this guide no matter what. Without further ado, we have no time to waste. This video is going to be decently long, so let's get right to the guide. To get to know this cutie and her cool-ass dragon a little more, we have to go over her traces before everything else. Her small traces are exactly what you're looking for, with both crit damage and crit rate, plus some quantum damage bonus, so you know she's going to be doing damage. As for her bigger traces, if Castorice's HP is above 50%, then her speed will increase by 40%. To give you an example on how much 40% speed increase is, the hack set gives you 12% increase, meaning this trace is effectively giving you 3 hack set bonuses, plus 4%. Also, while Pollux isn't on the field, all excess healing for each ally will restore an amount of Stamina Nova. What is Stamina Nova? We will talk about that when we get to the ultimate. Just keep Stamina Nova as a term. When Pollux appears, this excess healing will restore HP for Pollux. And of course, each restoration can go over 15% of the max Stamina Nova. Again, this works with the ultimate, you'll understand in a second. And finally, the lower the enemy's HP is, the more damage is dealt to them by Pollux. And if the enemy is 30% HP or lower, then Pollux will be doing his maximum damage increase with a 40% damage increase. What we get from this is, well, basically healers are going to be very insane, and I'd honestly recommend Abundance over Preservation here without a doubt. We're going to be talking about the healers on the team section, but I just wanted to mention that Gallagher is going to be your prime unit, so make sure to have him, level him up. He's going to be insane with Castorice. And honestly, future units as well. Mighty likes him, Aglaya likes him, Castorice will like him, I don't know who else will like him. Now listen carefully. We'll go over Castorice herself, and then we're going to go over to Pollux. So, skipping the basic attack as always, her skill consumes 30% of your team's HP, dealing AoE damage, and if that HP isn't sufficient, the HP will go down to 1. Her skill gets upgraded once you ult or have Pollux on the field, consuming 40% instead of 30%, and avoiding consuming Pollux's health. This attack gets converted to a joint attack, dealing similar damage, or dealing damage in a similar fashion. What is a joint attack? I have no clue. For her technique, she enters the death addle state for 20 seconds and makes enemies unable to approach her. When she enters battle with her technique activated, Pollux is instantly summoned with 50% of its max health, and after he is summoned, he consumes 40% of your team's HP and takes insta action. Also, before Pollux appears, Castorice will gain 30% of Stamina Nova. And now for the important ones, the ultimate and the talent. When you activate the ultimate, it summons Pollux and forwards him by 100%. Also, a territory will be activated, similar to Jiao Chou's or Tribbie's, and this territory will be reducing all enemies all-type respin by 20%. If Castorice's damage bonus from her talent is active as well, Pollux will also obtain that buff once the ultimate is activated. The ultimate for some reason gives Pollux his stats here, so Pollux has the stats of 165 speed and a max HP of 100% of the max Stamina Nova, meaning Stamina Nova is very well tied to his HP and to his damage. Finally, for the talent, we have a new way of calculating damage, character levels. I'll explain in a second. Each point of HP lost by allies, yes, each point, Castorice will gain 1 point of Stamina Nova. Also, it increases Pollux's and Castorice's damage by 20% up to a 60% buff for 3 turns. Once you acquire the max amount of Stamina Nova, the ultimate can be used. And of course, once Pollux is on field, any Stamina Nova that you gain during his his stay will not be counted. What does all of this mean? Well, in simple terms, let's say you have 4 level 80 characters. If you add 80 times 4, it makes 320 levels in total. Times that by 100, and we have the max value of Staminova, which is 32,000. This means that Pollux will have a max HP of 32,000 each time he is summoned, which means your entire team needs to lose about 32,000 total HP in order to summon Pollux. This makes Tribbie, Blade, Mighty, Lynx, and more extremely valuable units since they have a lot of HP for casters to consume, and just because they heal themselves in general, this will also be counting towards the stacks of the 32,000. Again, get healers, get people that heal themselves, or heal in general. Now for the Memo Sprite abilities and skills, I will just go through them very quickly. So for the Memo Sprite skill 1, Pollux consumes his own HP and starts dealing a lot of damage, and he grants himself even more turns so he can keep using his attack continuously. And of course, the more you use the ability, the higher the multiplier goes up from 28% to 34%. As for his basic attack, he just deals some AoE damage, and for his talents, while he's on field, he absorbs all damage allies take and cannot be targeted from any enemy. Talent number 2, when he is summoned, he decreases the damage dealt by all allies by 10% for 3 turns. And finally, when he exits, he triggers an exit attack, dealing damage based on 40% of Castorice's max HP with 6 instances of damage, and he heals your entire team, scaling with 6% of Castorice's max HP. Before you go get yourself all excited and max Castorice out, here's the path I would recommend you to have a much smoother experience with your Castorice leveling. Number 1 priority should be the Memo Sprite skill because that is 90% of your entire damage. For the second priority, you can either go with your ultimate or her summon's talent if you believe in your Castorice's damage, or ideally if you want to help your team deal more damage. As for her ultimate, it is really good as well, and you'll be leveling it anyway, so don't really worry about which one you level first here. After you're done with all of those, Castorice's talent is going to be very good to level up, and finally go for Castorice's skill. Yes, I know her skill does very good damage, but compared to the other ones, it just has to go last. In reality though, you'll be leveling the entirety of her kit, so it doesn't really matter. I just know you will, just look at her. Can you tell her that you won't max out her basics? Do you have the heart for that? For the best relic set, which is probably going to be very true for a lot of characters now, is going to be the 4-piece Poet. It gives her a quantum damage bonus on its 2-piece, which you want very much, and since Castorice is going to be quite slow, it will be very easy for you to get all of that crit rate. Also, all of that crit rate you get can also help you focus more on the crit damage of Castorice, and of course these effects will work on the Memo Sprite as well, making it a perfect fit for Castorice as a relic set in general. Another thing you can use for a relic set is the 4-piece Hero. Lots of crit damage and a speed increase is very nice, which means you don't have to worry about a good Poet piece, but honestly I would recommend putting a good Hero set until you have farmed a very good Poet set. Other sets that you can also use if you are crazy enough to attempt, the 4-piece Longevous set is pretty good, the Genius set can also very much work, and the Hunter set is also an option, not really recommended. I would obviously recommend Farm for Poet, but again, those are pieces you can use. For planners, we have 3 whole options, with one of them not being even usable if you're going with the 4-piece Poet set. What planner is that, you might ask? Unfortunately, it is the 2-piece Glamoth, because trust me, if you use Poet and Glamoth, those two just don't work together. You're going to be wanting a Poet set for her, and trust me, you are not going to hit 160 speed with a Poet set. If you're on the Hero set, for example, you're good to go on Glamoth, but there are still better options for her, like the Banana Amusement, giving lots of crit damage for your Castorice, but of course, the best planner for her is basically her signature one, the Bone Collection's Serene Domain. Yes, it's pronounced domain. And it states that if you are above 5,000 max health, which Castorice should be at all times in the battle, she and Pollux will gain a crit damage bonus, and on top of that, she also gains a max HP increase, which again, Castorice benefits heavily from. I'd say these are pretty set in stone as for what is the best planner set for her, no question about it. Question I would like to raise though is what are we gonna do with the light cones? Let's go look at those real quick. I don't know if you guys remember when every person out in the world found out that a 3-star light cone for Aglaya is actually really good, and it doesn't really matter that it's a 3-star. Well, this is the same case for Castorice. It is one of her best alternative options, but let's go take a look at her signature to show you how broken she can get, and then I'll be showing you a few more other light cones that you can use as well. For now, for her signature light cone, Make Farewells More Beautiful, it gives 30% max HP increase, a status called Death Flower for 2 turns that gives her 24% defense ignore, and an advance forward on Castorice when Pollux, her summon, disappears. Quite the amazing light cone we have here, especially because of the defense ignore that it gives. Not that the others are definitely worse, but again, this is just one of the very good ones. And with a 24% defense ignore, this will obviously make it way easier of a choice to pick between E1 and S1, but I will let you know when we get to that part. For the alternative light cones, I'm just going to make a guess just because the path is new. We will be getting a new and better light cone sometime soon that will serve Castorice better in the future. I can't really know that for now, but I'm just making a very big guess. Anyways, for alternative light cones, the Reminiscence, the 3-star light cone, is currently an amazing option, and even as a 3-star, this actually does give you quite the damage bonus. Victory in a Blink can also work, with a possible dual DPS team benefiting more from this light cone, but this also does give a little bit of crit damage just to give Castorice a little boost in her crits. This doesn't make it her best light cone. Again, this isn't the best light cone you can put on her, but I'm just saying this one can work as well. If you're going to be using Castorice in a dual DPS team, you can also put the light cone Memories Curtain that is now in the Herda shop. It doesn't exactly work with the 4-piece Poet, but again, it is a 5-star, it gives a lot of HP, and it can work if you want to use it, just not with the Poet set. Honorable mention to the Battle Pass light cone, it is actually very good, with it giving crit rate and damage increases for her and her summon. This one is actually a pretty solid option, but you do have to spend 10 bucks. Again, very limited options, not many if you don't have her signature or if you're not going to go for it, but of course, as you can see, there is some to choose. You can go with the 3-star if you want more damage, Victory in a Blink if you want to buff your team a little more, and if you bought the Battle Pass, you are good to go. And now for one of the most important parts of the entire guide, the team section. For teams, we actually have quite the roster to choose from, not in terms of units, but in team comps in general. High HP units like Mighty and Blade or Lynx for example, all of those can work very well just because they have lots of HP, which also makes the HP drain much easier. And again, healers can fit perfectly into this because now Castorice's ultimate actually can be charged through the healing of your teammates, or healing in general can also provide stacks for Castorice's ultimate, and also if Blade and Mighty drain their HP and heal it back up through their ultimate or through their passives or through their talents, that HP also counts towards the HP drain, which again makes this a lot easier for Castorice and a lot easier for you as well to be able to use your ultimate more. Notable healers I'd like to point out are Locha and especially Gallagher because he is a 4-star. They are fantastic at healing without having to take a turn, and they can heal just off their field, which is something that every single Memo Sprite user is going to love because they have a lot of turns, they have a lot of attacks, and they want to be healed as much as possible, just in case. So again, if you don't have Gallagher built, please build him. We are in an era of Gallagher currently. For units to buff or help casters deal more damage, Hela is a usual contender for a good spot. She has an easy ultimate to charge, and it provides a good amount of defense shred. And as for other Nihilities, for supports, all of these guys and girls are good with her, with of course the better ones being Tribbie, RMC, Sunday, and of course Ron May. I've said it before, but she has really good personal damage. She debuffs the enemy and gives them vulnerabilities. She's very good with characters that are scaling towards self buffs and not more towards debuffing the enemy. So you will notice a little bit of a difference if you have Castorice and Tribbie on the same team. And another thing for the RMC, they have the true damage that obviously provides a huge damage increase, and since Castorice doesn't use any energy, meaning she has 0 max energy, the 4th Eidolon of the RMC actually applies here, giving Castorice a 26% true damage multiplier instead of the normal 20%, which can actually add up in most situations. As for Sunday, he might not provide the energy to Castorice, but he sure as hell provides insane buffs on the crit side, and of course he can also advance Pollux, giving a lot more opportunities to get out more damage. Let me give you some team comps to give you a few ideas on how to play her. First, let's show you the free to play team, which is this one, with the obvious choices of Gallagher, RMC, and Bronya just to support on the sidelines and provide Castorice and advance forward. Again, Gallagher and RMC are absolutely perfect for free-to-play and more pay-to-win teams, but here especially they make the difference. As for Bronya, you can consider it a very good replacement for Tribbie or Sunday if you do not have those units available. Nothing really else to add here. Gallagher is the best unit you can use, RMC is the best unit you can use, and Bronya is the best replacement you have for Sunday and Tribbie, and of course Gallagher and RMC are very irreplaceable even in pay-to-win teams. As for her pay-to-win team, we have Lynx or Locha or Gallagher again, all are fantastic as they are, with Tribbie as the obvious choice for her high HP, and finally the RMC or Sunday, or you can replace those with either Mighty or Blade to get even more HP on the field for Castorice and Tribbie. I've said quite a lot on the team section so far, so I will just show you each team and point something out on each of them to not make this video 35 minutes long. So for team number 1, it is very simple, I don't need to explain. For team number 2, we have Anaksha and Ruanmei to help him out while also buffing both him and Castorice. And of course, Locha is a little bit better here since he is skill point positive, something Gallagher can probably not be. And of course, we have Locha here since he is one of the most skill positive units ever seen, which gives Anaksha and Castorice more opportunities to use their skills. Team number 3 and team number 4 are simple again, so just take a look. Okay, I hope you took a look. Team number 5 is what I mentioned above, with Blade or Mighty as a sub DPS, with a dual DPS buffer like Tribbie or Ruanmei to buff both units while also helping Castorice have a lot of HP drain. As for team 6, this is again very simple, just have a look again. And finally for team 7, it has 2 advanced forwards as you can see, meaning Sunday, Sparkle, Bronya, RMC, and any other advanced forward unit except Robin are very good for her. Robin gives attack percent, that's why we don't want her here. This obviously will give Castorice quite a lot of turns, so she can drain the HP as fast as possible, but I wouldn't really recommend it because we have much better options than, combining Sparkle and Sunday. Again, if you get /1 Castorice, here's what units you need to look out for to make the best teams, with the obvious picks being Sunday, Mighty, Blade, Tribbie, RMC, Gallagher, Locha, and Lynx. If you have any, most, or all of these units, Castorice will be a fantastic and smooth transition into your account. Now for her Eidolons, I will not be talking too much about them because obviously not a lot of people go for Eidolons, but I will just give you a general opinion and what each one does. For E1, each time Pollux uses Dim Scorch Breath, which is his attack, he increases his damage dealt by 20%. This effect can stack up to 6 times in total and will last until the end of this turn. Again, very simple, nice E1, gives you a lot of damage bonus. If you have Tribbie, this will become even better because this one is obviously a self buff, this isn't a vulnerability for example, so Tribbie actually works a lot better with E1 as we said before. For her E2, after you summon the Memo Sprite, Castorice will gain 2 Ardent Will stacks, and of course she can possess only 2 at any given moment. They can be used to offset the Netherwing's HP consumption when using the skill, and they will advance Castorice by 100%. Whenever the dragon is done and is about to use the enhanced skill, Castorice will recover 20% of maximum new butt points. What did I just say? Well, it's complicated. It's very good. This will actually help you quite a lot with your Castorice to make a lot better builds and obviously to do even more damage, but you'd have to pull for E2. Anyways, for her E4, while Castorice is on the battlefield, all allies' incoming healing increases by 20% when they have their HP restored. This again helps a lot more with the healing because you can overheal and gain even more stacks for that, and of course you want Castorice to be healing as well, and Gallagher will be healing a lot more as well if you use him, so it's just a very nice thing all around. And finally, for her E6, whenever Castorice or Pollux deal damage, they increase their quantum resbend by 20%, and now Pollux will not disappear on his own after he takes an action, which again is a complete game changer. Not a lot of people have E6, not myself. I don't quite know how this will work or how this will play out, but I'm guessing this will open a brand new path for Castorice if you're playing her. I will make this section very quick since I think the points I have are very clear and very few, so let's just jump right into them. For E1, it will benefit you a little bit better if you have and will use Tribbie with her, because again, Tribbie doesn't buff characters directly, she reduces the enemy's vulnerability instead, making it way better for self-buffing units like Fei Xiao, Thurda, and of course E1 Castorice if you get her. This will help you a lot in not overstacking your damage increases. S1 on the other hand gives you a defense shred shred, which is completely insane. It gives you a 24% def shred. It also gives you an advance forward after Pollux dies, and she gets a 30% HP increase, with almost nothing comparing to it so far in terms of quality in damage and utility. Again, I can see why E1 is good, with it giving a 108% damage bonus, but again, defense shred, advance forward, and a huge HP increase are very hard to beat altogether, especially because the defense shred isn't as easily saturated like damage bonus. So personally, S1 over E1 for your Castorice, unless you play with a lot of debuffers or Tribbie, in which case E1 might find you better, because again, the debuffs aren't going to saturate as much with her damage bonuses. Oh my god, we're finally done. This took so long. And the animations are just getting better with each character. Not to mention her design and character in general are also very good. I've been expecting Amphoreus to leave me stunned, and once I saw Aglaya, Castorice, and whoever that cool looking boss is in the new story, I knew they had cooked with Amphoreus. Anyways, make sure to subscribe to me to get more guides like these. I'll be making more content with Castorice, and I will also be releasing an Anaxia guide sometime later in the future, maybe on his version 4. If you're interested, make sure to subscribe and wait for that when that happens. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace.